Welcome into another edition of the Hops and Spirits Podcast. I'm your host, Jonathan Green. We have a great episode for you this week. We go both on the hoppy side and the spirit side of things. We have Sean Kelly, co-founder of Drafttop, which if you haven't heard about that, stick around because it's really cool what they're doing. And also it's part of our next giveaway. Details on that here shortly. And also Eddie Simeon, who is a co-founder of Hella Cocktail Co., which does a whole lot of things in the cocktail spirits world. So like I said, we hit both sides, the hoppy side and the spirit side this week. Remember, if you're not following us on our social media pages at Hop Spirits, all one word, you might miss out on something really cool like our May giveaway, which is with Sean Kelly's company, Drafttop. We're giving away this really cool Drafttop opener and a koozie, as you can see if you're watching the episode. So look for that on our Instagram page. All of our social media will lead you back there. It's going through this weekend, so depending on when you're listening, it might be over, but hopefully not. And if you're not already, follow us, like I said, on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and TikTok at Hop Spirits, all one word. Now, let's have some fun. Joining us now on the Hops and Spirits podcast as we kind of go toward the spirits side because what this guy does and what his company does works perfect for it. Well, we've got Eddie Simeon. Did I say that right?
You got it.
All right. Eddie Simeon, who's co-founder CMO for Hella Cocktail Company out of New York, even though I don't think that's where he's at. But we'll talk about that here in a little bit. Eddie, thanks for hopping on.
Thank you very much. It's awesome to be here.
Now,
Love the
I like
podcast.
Yeah, it's fun. I'm glad we can make this happen. Now, I always like to start off these things with one really tough question, just to get everything going. For you, that one tough question is if you're grilling out, what's on the grill?
Oh, dang. Well, you're talking to the right guy. I do love grilling. And actually, a lot of grills come with a rotisserie extension. So one of my favorite things to do right now is to time out, because it's all about timing, right? So I like to time out a whole chicken, which is I usually do a just real simple seasoning, salt, pepper, and then fresh lemon zest. If I have time, let that marinate for like 20 minutes to half an hour, and then put the bird on, and then try to schedule out actually cooking potatoes and vegetables on the same grill. So it's kind of like a grill boss's approach to a one skillet meal.
Hey, I love the sound of that.
Yeah.
I'm definitely a guy that burgers, hot dogs, some veggies, and I'm good to go. A little corn,
Right.
And it's a good day for me. Although I got to get the grill working, the automatic little fire decided to quit on us the other day, so I got a little work ahead of me. So.
They have a battery in there sometimes.
Yeah, no, this one it's got the battery, but it doesn't click
out
anymore. Yeah,
right.
yeah. Now, I guess another follow up for you on that is are you a gas grill, charcoal, or what are you doing?
I got a propane grill at the house. It's just two of us in the house right now, so we got a 2-burner propane grill. And I would love to have the time and equipment to get my own charcoal going, or even do like like a smoker. But these days I'm going for convenience. And you get enough of a seasoning on the griddles where the flavor's pretty good, and it produces the firebox produces a lot of smoke these days too. So there's plenty of added flavor. Yeah, I'm a propane man these days.
Hey, I totally understand the convenience. I've had a charcoal grill, and that took a whole lot longer than just going out there and pressing one button.
Yeah, oh man, but it's so much better.
Yes,
let's be honest.
It is. There is a trade-off there. Now for the actual real talk today, what is Hella Cocktail Company? What is that?
What a great question. Because I'm in it every single day. And so it's wonderful to be able to have a conversation with guys like you, Jonathan, who kind of have a broad perspective on the industry. And then, of course, getting to engage with your fans and kind of giving them the whole story. So really, Hella Cocktail Co. is ultimately about bringing craft cocktails to as many people as possible. We're about democratizing craft cocktails and spirits. So we started the company about this is our 10-year anniversary.
Oh wow.
So we started Hella in kind of like the end of 2011, but we had been making our own bitters at home for many years prior to becoming a business. So we were making bitters as hobbyists, kind of in a mason jar. And for people who want like the cliff notes on what bitters are it's kind of like a flavoring used by the dashful for classic cocktails. And speaking of grilling, you can actually use bitters as kind of like a wet rub. We
Mm.
have a smoked chili bitters and we have a Mexican chocolate bitters that are really good as kind of like a low sugar alternative to molasses because they're really rich and smoky and they bring like a lot of flavor. And that's the point of bitters is they impart a lot of flavor with very little, very few calories, but that's because you don't have to add much of it. So it's kind of like vanilla extract. As a matter of fact, it basically is vanilla extract.
I
And
like that.
so we're classified by the government the same way they classify flavor extracts like vanilla, almond extract. And so, when we started the company way back when, the only place to go get a thoughtfully crafted drink was like the marquee kind of like speakeasy bars. And we lived in
Hmm.
New York at the time. And so you would have to go to um, Death and Company. You would have to go to Milk and Honey, and then later entrance into that community would like be like Pouring Ribbons, and so many more awesome bars. But to be honest, we felt not cool enough to be in those spaces sometimes. It was kind of it's like pretty posh and kind of high end, and we didn't always feel like that. And so we wanted to kind of like take this experience of making drinks that we really cared about and put a lot of time and effort and love into making, but bring them to the masses. And so Hella Cocktail Co. is all about taking cocktails seriously, but not taking ourselves too seriously. And so we produce a wide array of cocktail ingredients now. So not just bitters, which we have 8 flavors of bitters now, but we also have crack and pour mixers, things you might expect like in the grocery aisle where you find Bloody Mary mix and Margarita mix. And more recently, we just launched our first sparkling ready to drink beverage, which is a non-alcoholic bitters and soda. And so one, if you go to the bar, which people are starting to do more and more of these days, which I'm really excited about. But if you go to the bar and you don't want to have, your first drink or the drink in between to be an alcoholic option, you can order a bitters and soda, which is basically a tall glass of club soda, ice cold, with a few dashes of cocktail bitters on top. And when you order it, you're going to get like an insidery nod of approval from the bartender because the bartender knows that the bitters and soda is not only delicious, but it's very settling for your stomach and for like your constitution and your head in general. It's very, if you kind of look at it through the lens of herbalism, my mother's actually a herbal clinician. She takes on clients and talks to them about how to do medicine work using plants and herbs. They are antimicrobial, anti-inflammatory, which at the end of the day has similar properties as like probiotic beverages like kombucha. So it's all about gut health. And so we have a zero sugar options for bitters and soda, and they're all non-alcoholic. You can drink them as mixed with alcohol. So you can put it with rosé, you can put it with my favorite, which is bourbon, um, or you can drink it on its own, like a delicious sparkling non-alc drink. And so all of those product categories I walked you through, bitters, mixers, bitters and soda, they're all kind of tailor fit to meet someone wherever they may be along the spectrum of making cocktails. So whether you're like a handlebar mustache, suspender wearing Scotch nerd, we got something for you. Or if you're just, having a bunch of friends over and you want to have a really quick and easy craft margarita experience for your guests, we have something for that occasion too.
So you run the whole gamut, and I love that, and I also love just how it all started out as a hobby, kind of hobbyist, so to speak. But how did because there's three of you that kind of co-founded this. How did
Hmm,
you all meet and actually get the company going?
nice. Well, there's a short story and a long story. So actually, we were all buddies. We were all friends. I've known my co-founder and dear friend of more than 20 years, Tobin, since like the high school days. So I, interestingly enough, I grew up on the West Coast and he grew up in the Northeast, and we met through a mutual friend. And I guess it was like around that era, 2006, 2007, where we both ended up in New York and became like, thick as thieves and started just, playing around, grilling, making drinks at home together. And then, so that's Tobin. And then Jomari, he is our like super like authentic dyed in the wool New Yorker. Like he's from Queens, right? Like he grew up in Astoria. Um, and we met him there, of course. But his brother, back in the day, was pursuing a hip hop career. He's like a rapper. And
Okay.
so Tobin and I, before we became food and beverage guys, we were both doing our own thing in entertainment and media production. So I was like working like corporate jobs, producing creative media, advertising, websites, video production, and he was acting. And so Jomari literally hired me and Tobin to produce a music video for his brother. And so that's actually the short story. The story
Uh,
gets a lot longer when we talk about the antics that happened during the video shoot. But I say like Tobin's one of my oldest friends, but at this point, Joe Mare is also one of my oldest friends because this was a long time ago now. So yeah, this was not an idea cooked up in a boardroom. This is something that we just kind of love to do, and said, hey, maybe it's time for us to go pro.
well, and you guys definitely did that. Now, I find it interesting the name. How did you come up with the name?
So back to the California thing. Hella, of course, is slang from there's a lot of different histories of the origin of the word hella. I'll give you mine because it's the correct one.
There you
It's from
go.
the Bay Area, or more specifically from Oakland. So if you listen to rappers like E40 and like all the Oakland guys, they're using the term hella. Hella is like, it means what you say, like I'm hella tired. This burrito's hella delicious. Like it's a word that means like extreme or very or a lot of. It can connote
Hmm.
like quantity, right? Like there's hella people at this party. So whether you just can't help but say it because it's just part of your vernacular, or people make fun of you because you say it, like everyone kind of talks about it. So because our first product was bitters, we thought we would be cute and name the company Hella Bitter without an S, because it was like, witty. We thought it
Yeah.
was quite witty. Uh, but you really just have to listen to your audience sometimes, because no one ever called it Hella Bitter. Of course, everyone called it Hella Bitters. And so we eventually changed the name of the company to Hella Bitters. And even now, we very rarely refer to the company as Hella Bitters. Definitely not in any marketing materials or advertising. But people somehow know we're Hella Bitters, even if it's been 6 years since we've uttered the word. And so, but if you actually look at our like the documents that we used to start the company, the name of our business is Hella Bitter with no S, LLC. So that that is just kind of being from the Bay Area. We just thought it was kind of a cool word, and it's certainly catchy, and we think it like looks really great as a brand.
No, I love it. I love it. I also love the story. That makes it even better.
Yeah.
You guys do like you kind of listed a lot of the products there.
Mhm.
I think if I'm correct, you guys kind of go with the process of small batch making for all of it.
Mhm.
Why is that?
Well, we always try to keep it as close to homemade as possible. Um, and that's being a small business who's trying to become a bigger business. You come up against all these reasons and opportunities to like compromise on quality, you know? So, you get the concentrated version instead of the fresh version, or you replace the infused orange peel with orange flavor, that
Hmm.
comes in like a commodity liquid. Like it just happens. So by keeping production sizes small, you end up working with production partners who are more flexible in their ability to do higher quality process. So, you know, you make bitters through infusion, basically. So when you make wine, you're fermenting grapes. When you make beer, you're brewing beer. When you make spirits, you're distilling spirits. When you make bitters, the formal term for the process is maceration. So where maceration and infusion are very similar. So essentially, we're infusing whole spices, a lot of fresh ingredients like fruit peel, some dry ingredients like chilies, into high proof alcohol. And then there's a sweetening step and a filtration step. If we were to go talk to like Pepsi or any of the really big manufacturers, they literally would never be interested in doing that because it's such an esoteric production process. So on the bitters front, by nature of the fact that it's like so niche, we have to stay small, and we've like come up with like little innovations here and there to make it a little bit faster. But at the end of the day, making bitters is slow and takes a lot of care. And we start with like whole spices. And so the same process, we actually use our bitters as an ingredient in our bitters and soda.
Okay.
I'll be honest, there's a lot of interesting bitter sodas out there. Some of them refer to themselves as bitters and soda. But I'll ask you, if your bitters and soda doesn't actually have bitters in it, is it bitters and soda?
That's a fair question.
Like what's the sound of one hand clapping, right? So we are a bitters and soda that contains hella bitters. And I would challenge other bitters and soda producers to keep themselves to that same standard or not call it bitters and soda. But I'll say not all of our stuff is small batch.
Mm-hmm.
Like we're very proud of our relationship with large partners like Delta Airlines. And of course, that's one of the biggest accounts anyone could ever hope to have, a large airline account. And so we make, mixers in high volume sometimes. And so, but we always approach it with the same ethos of trying to keep it as close to homemade as possible.
And you touched a little bit on the bitters and soda, there as well. Why make that product and also just kind of the other products? Is it just to kind of complete that home bar experience?
That's an awesome question. Well, we are always debating what is the real, like, why do people care about bitters and soda, right? Right? And we talk about functional beverages a lot. So, I mentioned kombucha earlier. Well, people love kombucha because it's probiotic. And so there are demonstrable health benefits to, drinking kombucha. People drink Red Bull or Highball or all these energy drinks because they give you a buzz and they have energy. So what is it about bitters and soda that is that particular hook? And I think prior to 2019, we were doing it because it was authentic to us, because we love cocktails and we wanted to create a product that was an expression of our passion for making cocktails. But I think and that required a lot of education. We would have to go do a lot of demos in grocery stores and educate people who didn't have bitters at all on their radar and say, hey, here's this thing called bitters. Do you like drinking cocktails? And kind of start from there. But in 2020 and 2019, 2020, and now 2021, something really interesting has happened where the market has finally taken a step towards us in this category because it's zero alc. So like non-alcoholic, zero proof cocktails is a movement far greater than Hella Cocktail Co. It's zero sugar. There's been a war on sugar for a long time. We're not afraid of sugar, but we do love the fact that our products are zero sugar because you can always add a sweetener if you so choose. And we are really connecting the product's herbal benefits that are all derived from natural plants like gentian tincture to the product as well. So I think we're living in a unique time where all of these big trends like self-care, health and wellness are actually beginning to intersect with the food and drinks that we buy and consume, and that includes cocktails. And so bitters and soda exists because it is a healthy, settling, zero sugar alternative to drinking cocktails. And it also happens to mix really great with alcohol. And that's what it is. And that's why we're getting a lot of good early traction with the product. It's for sale now nationally in Whole Foods.
Well, there you go. And I also love it too. Almost not everything, but you kind of mentioned it there. You have a few of the bitters that can be used in food. It's almost like you guys have a nice little deep bench of uses for everything.
For better or for worse, you know?
And
Sometimes it's better to have like one product. Like, what's the ideal portfolio size? One. But
yeah,
if you're kind of trial and erroring your way through growth, which a lot of brands are, you gotta throw things up on the wall and see what sticks. And so, I think we really have it dialed with bitters and soda now. We know what it is and we know why it exists. But for many years, we would just try stuff out. Like we had a hibiscus tonic syrup for a couple of years, and it's one of the favorite products I ever made. We ever made. It was basically meant to be mixed with club soda to make a premium tonic water. So it had cinchona. Is that the right one? No, quinine. Excuse me. It had yeah, quinine. So cinchona, and it was this beautiful lavender color. But we didn't sell enough of it, and so we ultimately retired that SKU. And I think
yeah.
that it connects back to your question of like, what role does this product play in people's lives? And so for any entrepreneur, you kind of have to find that balance between doing it because you could wake up every morning and do this and be excited about it, and people will actually want it.
Yeah,
It's
true.
relevant to people's lives. And so I think we finally have it kind of fine tuned with the bitters and soda.
Oh and two, I feel like, especially with the pandemic and so forth, a lot more folks are doing some home bar things and learning and doing, and
Mhm.
I'm sure that doesn't hurt either as you work on growing the business. Now, a question just for you: what's your kind of go-to drink when you're out and about, or even when you're at home? What are you making?
Nice. Well, I recently moved to LA. So like I'm from the West Coast. I lived in New York for 13 years. And the timing of it actually had nothing to do with the pandemic. I moved to LA in early February of 2020. And so
Good
my
timing.
partner and I, she and I, we landed in LA, and then like the whole world changed, right? But we moved into an apartment with a lime tree in the back.
Oh,
So even though I make a margarita mix, a fresh lime margarita with orange bitters in it has been our go-to cocktail of the year. And so we like it on the tart side.
okay.
So we do 2 ounces of silver tequila, um, the juice of two whole limes, which ends up being I think about an ounce and a half or to 2 ounces of lime juice. A lot of lime juice.
Hmm.
Um, half an ounce of Cointreau, so a lot less Cointreau than you might expect. And then I do like a 12 dashes of orange bitters. And if I want to mix it up, I'll do a different bitters flavor, like smoked chili, for example. So that's one of the drinks that I like to drink at home. And beyond that, I'm personally like a big highball fan. Like
Okay.
even back in the day when Tobin, Joe Mari, and I were running around Brooklyn acting like crazy guys, having the time of our lives. Even then, I would my go-to drink was always like a rye whiskey and soda, just like
Hmm.
a whiskey highball. And that drink is even more on trend now than it was then. So I'm all about the highballs.
Well, see, you were just ahead of the time. You're just ahead of the curve.
No one has ever said that, but thank you.
Well, now you can now you can use that and
I'm
for when
like,
anyone
guys, I was
asks.
I was called ahead of the curve.
Now my final question for you, Eddie, is what's kind of next for Hella Cocktail? Because obviously, you guys have a few different product lines out there. What are you guys looking at doing next, or is it just more of the same and building on that?
Well, I think we're pretty confident in our catalog right now. Like I was saying, like I think there's something for everyone. It seems to work from all the different sales channels, from like food service to retail to direct to consumer. We seem to have kind of like it pretty well dialed when it comes to like what we make. But we're really motivated by paying it forward in so many ways. We're a minority-led business. My heritage is Mexican and Filipino. Jomari is Black. This, all of the civic uprising and awareness around social issues has really been forefront for us as people for the past year. And so, just improve healing the world and making it a better place is something we really care about as individuals, and that's not always easy to do when you sell classier ways for people to get drunk. So how do we do that? And so I actually think one of the big opportunities and big things that we want to try to like work in is the environment into our products and making a greener product. We're getting hit as a brand and as a company right now really hard with the challenges behind manufacturing and supply chain materials. So it's really tough to move things from one point to another. The cost of commodities like glass and aluminum, salt, they're going up. Cardboard, all of these materials that we have to buy in individual parts in order to make Hella Cocktail Co. products is getting more and more difficult. And brands like us are forced, all companies are forced to spend more in order to churn and burn more fossil fuels and the depletion of more natural materials. And so we want to start creating products that are greener and more streamlined for the modern world. And so, it doesn't make sense for us to ship something that's extremely fragile so that we have to have a bunch of peanuts and packing paper and cardboard in order to deliver it safely when someone buys it on Amazon, right? Like, I personally feel that the answer is a firm no. Like, how do we make the product more shippable and more environmentally friendly? And so we don't have to change the formula of the Bloody Mary mix in order to accomplish that. And so we kind of want to approach it from like a materials and commodity standpoint to create products that are just less wasteful. And I think that would be not just the right thing to do, but it would also connect with a customer that is already a Hella Cocktail Co. fan, because, let's face it, you got to spend a couple of dollars more in order to have Hella Cocktail Co. as your cocktail ingredient, but people do it because they know that it's made with better ingredients. And so I believe that person would also care that it'd be made with better packaging materials.
Well, and you'd be doing a lot of bad pun intended here, hella good. And
that's right. That's right. I can't wait to see that emblazed all over the website and social media.
So, but no, I love to hear that, and love what you guys are doing, and you're making some really good things. And if you need something for the home bar, I highly recommend Hella Cocktail. And Eddie, thank you for taking a little time to tell me all the short.
I wanted
versions.
to do something for you guys. Actually,
Ooh.
I just thought of it. Let's do a discount code for your community, for your fans. It doesn't exist yet, but I'll make it up right now. It'll be 15%. And Jonathan Green, why don't you make up what it's supposed to be?
Well, now you put me on the spot. I don't know.
Just put the word hella in it.
Yeah. Well, let's see here. Well, it could just be hella good, but I'm sure you probably already have that.
Well, how about hella good 15? And whether or not it already exists, it'll work for you.
There we go. I like that. Okay. Hella good 15.
Great.
And is it hellacocktail.co? Is that right?
Hellacocktail.co. Yeah. So you can use discount code HellaGood15 to go to our website for 15% discount on your entire shopping cart.
Awesome. Eddie, see, you're just a hella good guy, and I appreciate it.
Hey, I'm just so glad that you reached out and invited us to participate in your series. We really admire it.
Joining us here on the Hops and Spirits podcast as we go to the hoppy side of things is Sean Kelly, co-founder of Drafttop, which is a pretty cool thing. Sean, thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me, Jonathan. I'm super happy to be here and talk some beer.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why we're on the hoppy side of things. I also read that, are you the executive beer drinker there too, or at least one of them?
Self-proclaimed and self-titled, yes. That is when you co-found a business, you get to pick your title, and that was one that I wanted to pick.
Hey, nothing wrong with that. Now, before we get into the hoppy talk, I think this goes really well with beer when you're thinking, we're getting into summer, as long as the rain holds off and lets you maybe get outside a little bit. My one tough question for you is if you're grilling out, what's on the grill?
Oh man, I'm a huge burger guy, so I'm always trying to perfect that. I think it's got to be cheeseburgers all day. That's my go-to for sure.
And nothing wrong with that. Do you have any special seasoning, or is that a trade secret that you can't tell?
No, I've read Kenji Lopez Alt's Food Lab, and there's some really good tips in there. So if you're looking to like grill a great brat or burger, definitely check that out first.
And yeah, that sounds great to me. I'm a burger guy myself, although I don't mind some chicken and even some veggies out
Yeah.
on the grill too. There's just something special about when you get things grilled just right that makes a great meal, whether it's any time of day, really, in my in my mind. Now, for those that don't know what Drafttop is, what is it? Because to me, it's a neat thing that I never really thought about. But there's a point to it, and it's a pretty interesting point on how you guys came up with it.
Yeah, so what we do is we take the tops off of beer cans, quite simply. We remove the top of the can safely. We don't leave any sharp edge, and we allow you to enjoy your beer the way the brewer intended. Because we believe that and science believes as well, that you can't taste what you can't smell, or you're inhibited with your taste if you can't smell what you're actually drinking. We've always found the can to be the best vessel for beer, but the one point that it was lacking was just like opening it up a little bit more. And so we designed a tool that's made here in America and fully patented, and just sits on the top of the can, and squeeze it, and about a quarter turn, it pops the top right off.
And what made you guys decide to create something like that? Because I'm guessing you touched on it a little bit there with about how it's intended to, how the brewer intended, and so you can get some of those smells. Is it just that kind of open it up and get a little more aromatic and a little better on the taste buds?
Yeah, totally. So the story that of how we kind of came up with this idea was my co-founder Armand. He was at college, and someone showed him how to open up a beer can with his teeth. And he was like, "Wow, this experience is like amazing. It's so much better than like you know pouring it into a single-use plastic cup or whatever." So he decided that there had to be a way that we could do this without requiring the possibility of extensive dental work.
Mm-hmm.
That we met at actually our former job in aerospace insurance, and sitting in the cubes in New York, and we would just kind of figure out ways how to open up cans and take the tops off of stuff. And yeah, I mean, the experience was kind of blew him away a bit. And so we just kind of went down this path, and, um, you know, stayed with it, and we're here today. And we've accomplished a few things so far that we're pretty proud of, and I'm sure we'll get into those later. But yeah, that's kind of how it started.
That's awesome. You just never know what's going to happen on the job, or that maybe is not necessarily about the job that you're at.
Hmm.
How does it work? Because obviously people are probably curious. Because when you think of popping the can off, they're worried maybe they're sharp edges or anything like that. But you guys take all that into account.
Yeah, totally. There's no sharp edges. We actually designed. There's no sharp edges even on the tool too. We designed the blades ourselves. We actually don't even call them blades because the blades have a sharp kind of connotation to them. So we tried to call them splitters, simply because they are literally splitting and ripping the aluminum. And what it does is it kind of pops on the aluminum, and when you squeeze, it uses pressure. I don't even want to say cut, but it cuts the aluminum, and it folds it in on itself. So at the cut, so there's no sharp edge where you're gonna like cut yourself or anything like that. So we designed the blades so that, one, you can't cut yourself on the tool, and two, you're not going to cut yourself when the tool is used on a can. And we know that I know it's not sharp because I've taken it into NFL stadiums and on TSA and all that fun stuff, and got through all the security that you need to get through, and haven't had one taken from me yet. So definitely not sharp.
Yeah. Hopefully you didn't just jinx yourself, but
Yeah. Now they're going to be looking for me.
but that's good too, because obviously if you're heaven forbid you sit it down somewhere and a kid can grab it, it doesn't sound like they're going to hurt themselves either.
No. It would be like, it's pretty much almost impossible. I mean, nothing's impossible, but I want to say it's pretty much near to impossible that you hurt yourself on this thing.
And then obviously there's some other advantages too when you can pop that top off of the beer, and just besides getting the smells. I mean, you can kind of create some cocktails from that. You can also you think of a wheat beer and an orange, you can put that in, maybe a Mexican beer and a lime. It kind of allows you to be a little more of a home bartender, right?
Totally, and we in the beer world, as you are well aware, we love to hunt for whales, and we're trying to get those really nice cans. We're trying to, wait. And I knew that this thing could work when I was living in Chicago, and Kentucky Bourbon Barrel Stout was coming out on Black Friday, and I saw a line waiting outside Binny's Beverage in downtown Chicago on Black Friday in the basically sub-zero weather, just to try and get some beer. And I was like, this is, I mean, I've always been a fan ever since I was could partake, and that kind of opened up my eyes that, wow, like there's some real fanatics in here, and I'm just kind of scraping the top. But the point of me saying that is that we go through all of this trouble to find, ship, and make connections with people, and trade, and do all these things to try and get stuff that you've never had before. And there's these like beautiful cans and beautiful can art, and then we just pop the tab and pour it into a plastic cup, or we pour it into a pint glass, which is fine. It's totally cool. If that's what you want to do, like, there's nothing wrong with that. To each their own. But it's almost like you're taking like a Picasso and, like, putting it into a plastic bag. Like, like it's you kind of want to show it off a little bit. In my opinion, it's like being a sneakerhead. Like, you get your sneakers, you don't want to just keep them in a box. Like, you want to show them. And I think that, like, the beer world is somewhat similar to that. So this allows you to kind of, enjoy it the way it should be enjoyed, and also kind of hang around at that barbecue, or show your buddies and be like, yeah, I actually did get this super rare beer. I did get this one from Seattle, even though I live in Atlanta. And it just kind of shows off that art and stuff. I think that's another factor in it. But to your other point, yeah, I mean, we see this as something that, you can open up a can, and then you're at a bar and you can take it back, and that if that bar is participating or in, working with us, then maybe they're pouring their beer back into that can instead of using a pint glass or a plastic cup. And maybe you're opening up one of the new craft cocktails that are out there in cans. Maybe you're, like you alluded to, opening up a Coca-Cola or something, and you could pour some Jack in there or whatever, and be your own bartender at home, since we've all kind of done that with COVID. And anyway, so I think all of our skills are up. Yeah, that's kind of where we're at.
And then, you kind of talked about it a little bit there. What's your beer journey been like? Because obviously you waited till you're 21, never did anything before that, completely, legal. But what's that been like for you? Because, I mean, obviously, I'm guessing you're not just drinking the big macro beers if you're creating something like this.
No, I've been in big beer industry. I've been big into beer for a long time now, simply because I'm getting older, not because, definitely didn't do anything illegal. And yeah, I mean, my beer journey kind of started in college, and as with everyone's, I think, and you're kind of just drinking that, like, Natty Light or Keystone Light or whatever, just the bottom of the barrel stuff, which is, I guess a gateway beer is what you would call those.
Yeah, I mean, I did the same thing.
Yeah, which is nothing wrong with that. I mean, that stuff serves its purpose, and I had a friend who was a little bit eclectic in college, and at the time, this was before craft beer kind of like blew up. It was just starting to get going, and he was like, "Hey, you got to try some different things." And so we kind of went to the store and bought a few things, and I started. I just at the time I wanted to try the biggest baddest one, and I got like Stone Arrogant Bastard, I think it was, and that was my first like craft beer, and so I kind of went like upper echelon then. So it was kind of opened up my world. I was like, holy cow, this is awesome. So been on the IPA game for a long time. And I just been kind of I love the brewery scene. I think the brewers around the country do such a great job of kind of like being communal driven and opening spaces up and making it like a cool place to hang out. And I like that scene. I think it's fun, it's inclusive, it's outdoorsy. There's usually some dogs there, like good music, and great beer and good conversations. And so I do always try and, anytime I'm traveling, to try and jump into some brewery, or I'm always looking up which brewery is near there and try and get over there to see what it's like. Because each one is different and unique in its own way, but they're all somewhat similar in that they offer a lot of the same atmospheres and whatnot. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah. I mean, to me, I mean, that's what it's all about. I mean, whether it's a beer or bourbon or whatever, most of the time, talking to folks, it's about the community, the atmosphere you get, whether you're enjoying some pours with friends or beers with friends or just enjoying a great venue. And it's kind of amazing what they've become, because a lot of them, they're like the little hub of a neighborhood now, and I think that's just awesome.
Yeah, I remember when I was living in Chicago, they had there was one that just had opened up, and of course I'm a Beguile Brewing, and they're great, but they were in their first location. I don't know if they moved yet, but they were very very small, like 10 barrel brewing, and they were in the middle of this little tiny neighborhood at a dead end street, and it was awesome to go there because there wasn't it wasn't crazy busy yet, and not a lot of people knew about it, but it was fun. And I was talking to the brewers there, and they were saying, like, "Oh yeah, all the stay-at-home dads come here at like noon, and pushing their strollers." And so it was interesting. It's just I love that kind of neighborhood feel too.
And then you talked about this earlier. You and our men co-founded this. How did you two meet? And obviously, how long did it take you guys to come up with something that worked consistently?
Yeah, so we met through our former jobs in the wacky wild world of insurance, and it's specifically aviation and aerospace insurance. Um, we worked in kind of like a big office in New York, and um, we met like kind of the first day I started and went out to lunch, and they kind of taken the new guy out to lunch. So it's on the department, so everyone wants to go to that one. And then we just started kind of talking, and he learned that I was really into startups and really into beer, and he was kind of thinking he's like an inventor, like that's what he would call himself. He's like, I'm not a CEO, I'm not, you know, into startups, but I'm an inventor. And so he just kind of had some side projects he was working on, and he did some crazy stuff, like he tried to build um, like a jet ski that he could drive from his house in New Jersey, central New Jersey, to Manhattan. And so that he didn't have to commute on the boat or on the train. And I was like, it just, and if you've never seen going under like the Verrazano Bridge, it's like there's huge waves. It's crazy. Like they could be like 20 feet high sometimes. And I'm like, what are you doing? But anyway, that obviously failed. But he kind of showed me this can opener he'd been working on, and he's like, I think if I can open up beverage cans, it'd be people would like it. And I, being the beer person, was like, that would be amazing in the beer world because everything is moving towards cans. I mean, like at the time it was 2012, and so bottling lines were still in use, much more than they are today. And there's kind of mobile canners popping up, and so people were starting to can stuff a lot more because they realized. It's the best vessel for beer. It lets no light, no oxygen in, vacuum sealed, and that's really what skunks any beer. It's not temperature. So the can was like the perfect vessel, and I'm like, everything's moving towards there, and a lot of people love beer and are willing to wait in line in Chicago winters to get it, and we should, this would be great if we moved it towards like kind of the beer industry. And so since then we've been working on it, and that was 2012, and he'd bring in different stuff, different prototypes to our office, and it was they were clunky, and we'd go back to drawing board and nights and weekends, and um, but eventually we got something to work in 2015. So like 3 years, and he sat on the liquor store floor and measured out every single can he could find to figure out if there was a common, you know, diameter between every can in the U.S. and for the most part there is. So we knew with what range we had to work within, and taught himself how to use SolidWorks, which is a super hard program to learn, and it's an engineering program. And we worked on this remotely after I moved a little bit, and got something to work in 2015, like I said, to the point where it was like a metal and wood version, and we launched it on Kickstarter in our first Kickstarter in 2015, and did really well. Like, didn't do any marketing, but got like a bunch of PR, and raised about $215,000 on there and pre-orders in like 40 days. We're featured in Food and Wine and Playboy in the same week, which I never thought could I don't know how that happened, but
hey, that's a good thing. That's a good
yeah.
thing.
Told my parents about the Food and Wine one, didn't tell them about the Playboy one, but that was a good thing. So yeah, we kind of went back to the drawing board after that, and tried to make it better. Delivered those items, and felt they worked pretty good for what we were able to do. And then we brought on an engineer, robotics engineer, to kind of help us, and redesigned it, brought the manufacturing into the U.S., made it cheaper because that's what a lot of people were asking for. Because at the time it was $45, because it's like it cost us like $43 to make it. So that was kind of why we pushed it so high. And then brought it back to the U.S., switched up some the design a little bit, made the learning curve a lot less steep, and we continued to we launched in 2019, December 2019. Did a Kickstarter there and got to about 600,000 on Kickstarter there, and then another 200 on Indiegogo, and started delivering everything in the middle of COVID, which was a lot of fun. So that was
hey, that's perfect timing, if you ask me. I mean, everyone was going to cans. I mean, that in a weird way, that had to be like perfect.
It actually did work out fairly well for us. Everything was going to cans. We didn't know what was going to happen. The physical delivery process was a nightmare. Because everyone was delivering stuff, and just hadn't ramped up the logistics yet. So it was just crazy. I mean, things were literally getting put onto physical ships and sailed across the sea like it was 1945. And so we had a lot of angry backers for that, but we did our best to try and get everything out the door as quickly as possible. And brand new world that we're living in. But and then we launched our website, our store, June 15th, 2020, and 2 weeks later had a bunch of knockoffs out, and we've been kind of dealing with that. And sorry, I feel like I talked way too long.
Hey, no, hey, I mean, that's the crazy part of the journey is people see it now, but they don't always know what it took to get to that point. And obviously, I'm guessing once you guys saw how well it did on Kickstarter, both times and stuff like that, you had to know definitely you had something here. And another place that y'all were on, I believe it was in February of this year, at least when it aired, was a show that I've always enjoyed, is Shark Tank.
Yeah. We, when we were on Kickstarter and we ended in January, they reached out to us, which apparently is pretty rare. I never knew that. But we had a producer reach out to us, and we just they said, hey, we want you to apply for the show. And so we went through the whole application process, and went on, got made it through the various 7 or 18,000 steps that they have to kind of get on there. And it was kind of wacky with COVID. They weren't sure if they're going to film or not. And Went out, Armin and Pat, my other one of my other partners, they pitched because of COVID restrictions. I couldn't go. They limited it to 2 people, and there's 4 of us. So, but you will see my funny cardboard cutout there. Uh, so we went out there and pitched and front of the Sharks and got a deal with Damon John, and that's been going great. I mean, he's an awesome dude to work with.
Oh, that is amazing, and like you said, you just never know how the journey is going to go and who you're going to meet and so forth. Another thing that just kind of popped into my head is the name. How'd you guys come up with the name? Because it seems very simple. I mean, but it does work.
Yeah, that's an interesting question. No one's ever really asked us that. We knew we wanted to kind of do something a little bit beer focused, and Armin and I just sat down and wrote down a ton of names, and we went our separate ways, wrote down a ton of names, came back, and we shared them. We went through each one by one, and we kind of landed on this one for a number of different reasons. It's kind of like self-explanatory. It was fairly unique, and the domain was available. So the domain was available, and then a lot of all the social media handles were available. So we decided to jump on that one. For those reasons, really is one of the bigger reasons why. But
hey, that's a bit. See, you guys, business mind right there, and also I think it allowed you to have a little fun on words and slogans too, right?
Yeah, we try to play around with draft and stuff, and then we had a slogan called Drink Topless. We have a slogan called Drink Topless, which people love or hate. It's polarizing. I get it. But it's what we're doing is trying to make you drink without the top on. So
I was gonna say it's a little tongue in cheek fun. I mean, nothing wrong with that. That's what we're doing. We're drinking beer.
Totally.
For those that are watching the video, just popped one and showed it off. I guess my last question for you, Sean, is what's next for you all?
Well, this is a hop tea, by the way. It's not a beer yet,
but it's like a beer. One.
Yeah.
So what's next for you all?
So we did do a NASCAR race, Drafttop 250 in October of 2020 at Martinsville. It was a lot of fun. It was super cool. And so that was an interesting experience. And I think that we're now, as we're kind of entering this like post-COVID world, we're definitely looking to kind of expand our reach and get out into the world and like kind of showcase people, because we found that it's difficult. Although we've had a lot of success this year, it's very difficult to kind of get the point across unless you're in person, and we totally understand that. We've explained this thing a million times to people when we were working on it, and then we found that when we just opened up a can and walked around a bar, all of a sudden you had like people coming up to you, guys, girls, whomever, was like, how the heck did you do that? And so if you want to be the cool person at your party, just do this and walk around, don't say a word, and people will come up to you. It's a good way to make friends. And I think what's next is we're looking to kind of get out there. 2, we're trying to co-brand with a bunch of different breweries. We're trying to figure out who's a good influencer in our target market, and we just want to kind of get out there and talk to the people and showcase the product and be on the ground and help people enjoy their beers a little bit better. That's it.
Well, I think you guys are doing a great job at that, and if you haven't yet, I highly recommend you checking them out. And where can they find a little bit more information on Drafttop?
Drafttop.com. We're Drafttop on Instagram. We're Drafttop on Facebook. Twitter. We kind of do a lot of stuff on Instagram, but definitely check out our website. There's a lot of stuff going on. I'm gonna open up one more seltzers because it's nice and easy, but gotta get it on there first. And then it falls right in if you're watching the video. So But yeah, drafttop.com, Drafttop Instagram, find us there. We're sharing some pictures and stuff, and we got a whole new affiliate program. So if you like this and you want to sell it to your friends or you want to sell it to people out there, let us know, and we can hook you up with a link, and you can get some commissions on stuff. So it's always a good way to drink some beers,
drink some beers, make a little money. That sounds like a good combo to me. Sean, I really appreciate you taking the time to kind of show off the product, talk a little bit about it, and the long fun journey y'all have had.
Thank you. I appreciate you allowing us to come on and talk about it and ask you asked some great questions. Happy to talk, and it was great meeting you, Jonathan.
Tons of fun, just a really great episode. Like I said, we hit the hoppy side and the spirit side this week. I thank Sean and Eddie for coming on to talk about Hella Cocktail Co. with Eddie and Drafttop with Sean. Such cool things, such different things, but stuff that you can put to use every single day at your home bar. Regardless, remember our May giveaway is up now. It's up through the weekend, depending on when you're listening to this. Go to any of our social media pages at Hop Spirits, all one word: Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and TikTok, to check that out, get more details. But the full details on how you can win are on our Instagram page. You could win the Drafttop and the koozie from Drafttop as well. A lot of good things going on. Don't forget to check out our Give It a Try highlights, new pours every Monday night on our social media pages, and sign up for our Weekly Cheers newsletter. Get those details by clicking the link in our bio on any of our social media pages. Got a lot of fun coming up this month. Can't wait to share those with you. Until next time, cheers, everyone.